Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty incredible, the 2,500-year story of India's libraries. And let me tell you, it's a real roller coaster, a story of amazing intellectual heights, a crushing fall, and then a fight to rebuild.
All right, so let's start with a really simple question, just to get us on the same page. When I say the word library, what pops into your head? For most of us, right, it's probably a quiet spot, a place to study, maybe borrow a book.
Okay, now I want you to take that image and just toss it out the window. Because back in ancient India, a library wasn't just some building with books. No way. It was the powerful, beating heart of intellectual life for the entire known world. It was a true engine of discovery, pulling in the smartest people from all over.
All right, let's jump right into this golden age of learning. We're talking about a period that lasted for almost 1,000 years. And during that time, India wasn't just one of the centers of learning. You can easily argue it was the center of learning for the whole planet. And look, we're not just talking about one or two famous spots here. This was a huge network of incredible university libraries that stretched all across the subcontinent. You had the famous ones like Nalanda and Vikramshila, sure, but also places like Nagarjuna Vidyapith, way down south. Think of it like an intellectual superhighway, way before its time.
And the amount of knowledge these places held, it's just, wow. Take Nagarjuna Vidyapith, for example. Can you even picture it? A 5-story building packed with books, and not just on philosophy. They had tons of stuff on science, medicine, botany, geography, even mineralogy. It was basically the internet of its day, all of human knowledge collected in one spot.
And that really tells you everything about how much they valued learning, right? The library wasn't just some dusty storeroom. It was treated as a sacred space, a real temple of knowledge. They'd even have a statue of Saraswati, the goddess of learning, right there among the books.
But then, this incredible golden age came to a sudden, violent end. And what came next was a really dark period. We're talking about almost 1,000 years of destruction and neglect.
So how did it all fall apart? Well, it was catastrophic. Invaders came sweeping through India. And when they saw these huge, walled university complexes, they didn't see centers of learning. They saw fortresses. And so, they destroyed them, just burned them to the ground. And with them went centuries of irreplaceable knowledge. Not just philosophy, but priceless texts on medicine, astronomy, you name it. Okay, now let's fast forward a few hundred years, into the British colonial period. When officials started looking into the state of education, the picture they found was, well, it was bleak. A commission in 1882 looked around and basically found that the whole idea of a library had just faded away. Their official report said the condition of libraries was, and I quote, hardly respectable.
And 20 years after that? Nope, things hadn't gotten any better. Another report came out, and it found that even the libraries that were still around were basically ghost towns. Students didn't use them. Teachers didn't use them. They were completely cut off from the whole point of education.
And then, in 1917, yet another commission pretty much delivered the final blow. They said the library, which was once the absolute center of learning, had become, and this is their phrase, a useless conventional appendage, just a forgotten room somewhere. The fall from grace was complete, absolutely total.
But you know what? That wasn't the end of the story, not by a long shot. After India gained its independence in 1947, this brand new nation had a huge job on its hands. It wasn't just about rebuilding roads and the economy. It was about rebuilding its intellectual soul.
And the very first commission on university education, they did not pull any punches. Their report was brutally honest. It said the libraries were underfunded, they didn't have enough staff, and they were completely unprepared for what a modern country needed. It was a real wake-up call, admitting just how bad things had gotten. But here's the thing. They didn't just point out the problem. They came up with a bold solution. For the very first time, they put a hard number on it. They said every single university needed to spend at least 6% of its total budget on its library. This was a huge deal. It was a clear signal. Let's put the library back where it belongs, right at the center of everything.
And this big idea wasn't just for universities. The dream was to build a library system for the entire country, a pyramid of knowledge that everyone could access. A real, structured network that would go from the big state capital cities all the way down to having a branch in every single village. Just imagine that.
So, just as these rebuilding efforts were getting started, something new came along that was about to change the game completely. And that was the digital revolution.
Yet the computer just blew up the whole idea of what a library was. All of a sudden, it wasn't just a quiet book house stuck inside four walls. It was turning into a dynamic hub, a gateway to this massive global ocean of information that you could access from pretty much anywhere.
And right at the heart of this huge digital shift was a project called InflibNet. It was started back in 1991, and its goal was, well, it was ambitious, to say the least. They wanted to create a kind of digital nervous system that would connect every single university library in India. The idea was to let them share resources in a way that was just impossible to imagine before.
So what did this new network actually do? Well, it let libraries team up into these groups called consortia. It's a fancy word, but it just means they pooled their money together to buy access to massive online databases full of academic journals. And just like that, a student at any university on the network could suddenly read thousands of top-tier articles from around the world. The doors to global knowledge were just, boom, thrown wide open.
Okay, so that brings our big 2,500-year journey pretty much up to today, and it leaves us with a really important question about what comes next.
So back in 2005, a group called the National Knowledge Commission was looking ahead, and they set this wildly ambitious goal. They said that by 2015, to meet the needs of its young people, India needed 1,500 universities. 1,500! That's a huge number.
And that right there kicked off a really critical debate that's still going on. Is the answer just to build more buildings, to just increase the quantity of universities? Or should the focus be on quality, on making sure the education in the universities we do have is affordable and that they're truly alive with new ideas?
You know, if there's one thing this whole journey teaches us, it's that a library is never, ever just a room with books on shelves. It's more like a mirror. It reflects the intellectual health of a society, what it really prioritizes.
They really show you what a culture chooses to hold on to, what it decides to build, and what it believes is the foundation for its future. So as this 2,500-year story keeps going, it leaves us with a big question to think about. What should the next chapter look like?